Hello guys! The topic of today's conversation is search. We're going to be answering one of the most interesting questions people are asking these days. What is it really is that is happening to search these days? Why is it becoming so harder and harder to get the results that they want? Well, we're going to be answering that, and on top of that, we're going to look into some scientific papers because they tell the truth. We're going to try to understand how Google search algorithm works based on some open available documentation and some research. We definitely don't want to dismiss genai-search capabilities because, spoiler alert, they change the rules of the games completely. And once we understand the picture holistically, we'll finally be able to address this very pain point, which is how to actually address the search problem properly and efficiently these days without being distracted by unnecessary noise. There is a number of things you can be searching for to get me started. You can be looking for some shopping items if you run out of toilet paper or so. You can be looking for some specific news. If you get bored, I guess, you're gonna be after some entertaining song of such. And if you're learning something fast, there's a plethora of how-to guides available all over the internet. And there is a complexity of search. You can be looking for something simple, really fast, like the latest Beyonce songs, for instance, or it can get quite complex if you're researching about Roman Empire or architecture of neural networks. There's various approaches to search. You can do a traditional Google search, so known as an active search, where you actually have to actively input something into the system to get the results back in the output. It's also associated with a keywords search, where the system expects from you some important keywords to understand your intent and feed you the results of a good quality. There is a passive search associated with social media. Even though there is a search functionality, just admit it, you never use it. And you don't have to, because the whole point of a system is just to learn about you so much so that it feeds you the result that you're most probably gonna like in the future and keep you on the app actually. And there is a novel Gen AI search approach, which a few providers have started doing it, like Google, Bing, Perplexity AI. So you can do search there by prompting your question in natural language. So it's even more active than Google in a sense that you gotta give it more data, and the system encourages you to iterate over the results until you get to the point where you are satisfied. And you also want to be looking for a certain quality of those results. You want to make sure that they are accurate, credible, coming from trusted sources, relevant and recent enough for you. And all that within the given context of your location, where you're looking for the results, how much time you've given, and maybe some restrictions coming from your organization. At the end of the day, people are going to be using systems that do the job the best for them. A takeaway from this article, for instance, is that a younger generation of users are actually going to come to newer platforms like Snapchat and TikTok for richer visual experiences. As one user says, is that they use Google products regularly, but not all of the time. If they are looking for a place for lunch, for instance, they're not gonna bother Google for that. And with all my willingness to talk about social media platforms, please, it is a very broad topic which I will eventually get to, don't worry about it. We'll be untangling very interesting concepts like recommendation systems, which has been actually released to the open source by X, previously known as Twitter, under the influence of Elon Musk. So we're gonna be unfolding that in the future, but for now, let's just tame our boundless curiosity and narrow down our focus onto something like what a regular user experiences on Google while doing their search. So let's say I don't want to think too much and I want to start with a keyword search. So I'm gonna input just one word, which is a laptop, okay? Let's see what it gives me. It's instantly identified my intent that I'm most probably gonna want to buy it. So it's giving me this shopping page with a bunch of filters on the left where I can select a few parameters to narrow down this search scope. It's also given me a couple of sponsored links of the most popular laptops, I guess, and the links to the computer store's front pages. But what if I wasn't necessarily looking for a new laptop? What if I was simply looking for a history of laptops, for instance? Well, what brought us here is that what they think that the most people are gonna be after these days searching for a laptop in a search box. And they wouldn't be completely wrong about it, because what else you want to do with a laptop search, really? And if you navigate to the search box, the system is going to give you a couple of suggestions how to clarify your query, but all of it is about shopping anyway. And if the intent was indeed different, you're going to have to completely change your initial request to something like history of laptops, let's say. It has brought us to exactly where we want to be. No shopping, no filters, no sponsored links anymore, which is good. Wikipedia being the first one in our results. Wikipedia is known as a very credible source, open knowledge base, encyclopedia, so to speak. A couple more links to related articles from different sources. Britannica is another knowledge base, another encyclopedia. There's a YouTube video somebody made. The system thinks it's very relevant to this search. And a couple more things down below. We know about Wikipedia, so we don't have to worry about it too much. We can just follow the link, read the article, as long as it's relevant for us. But what about other sources? Can we trust them? Do we even want to give them a try? These two, for instance, I have no idea what they're about, okay? So here's a little tip for you guys in here. In front of each source, there's a little hidden 3 dots button. If you hit it, it's gonna bring us a form, and there's a source section with a short information about the source. And if you follow this link below, it's gonna bring you to another page with a very comprehensive information about the source, with some cross-references from other sources. Sometimes they're credible sources of information that you know and can trust. Sometimes you can find a review section in here with the people expressing their opinions about the source. So, very interesting insights. But with this particular request, our intent here is very clear. We're gonna be digging into some history for some archaeological purposes, so to speak, nobody cares about. So they can just as well send us directly straight to the point and be done with it, okay? But what if we were after something more relevant these days? Say, your laptop's battery sucks, and everyone's laptop battery sucks, unless they're on Mac, but whatever. So, and we want to improve it, so we're gonna search for something like improve laptop battery life. And let's see what it gives us. So there's very first link from PC Magazine that seems to be somewhat relevant, that people follow. So do we. We're gonna hit this link, and it's gonna bring us to the page with an article containing hopefully some useful tips for us to improve our battery life, okay? So, but remember, I'm in this incognito mode, so I'm not using any extensions, any ad blockers whatsoever. So as a result, I get flooded with these ads banners all over the place. There's like 5 of them on the page. There's another one, and there's another one. But I actually wanted to show you something else, which is this link in the end. There is always the link. And if we follow this link, it's gonna bring us to another page with a bunch of affiliate links leading to the sellers where they sell these laptops that one may be potentially interested in and eventually even buy them, okay? It might not be necessarily you, but someone will. And given how much traffic goes through these pages, there's always the conversion. You know, people are profitable anyway, and that's what drives this whole pattern all the time. But I'm gonna get scientific, guys. In order to prove my point, I'm gonna refer to this research study on the point released very recently in January 2024. What does this paper tell us about? Or in other words, what did they do here is that they monitored various search engines such as Google, Bing, DuckDuckGo for a year on various product review queries. And those are product reviews. They're not even how-to guides, what we've just done. They're supposed to contain some sort of links to the products, I guess. So they found out that those search engines actually suffer. They have problems with highly optimized affiliate content. It tells that now takes the priority. That's what we're gonna be seeing in these first results on the search page, okay? And it can be massively produced, and because of that, it takes a priority. It's kind of becoming harder and harder to distinguish and differentiate between a benign content written properly by a human and some sort of generated content by AI of some sorts. This also tells us about a conflict of interest between affiliates, search providers, and users. As users, we want to trust our search engines. We kind of have to, there's not much of a choice, to be honest. So this in turn benefits affiliates by them inheriting this trust. So the only thing they have to optimize for is high ranking to get more users in. They will be willing to make a purchasing decision more likely because they trust this initial source, despite the quality of content. In fact, they also say that this SEO, which stands for search engine optimization, is a double-edged sword because by design it's supposed to improve your rank in a search system if you focus on the quality of the page. Well, but since this method is so transparent and easy to automate these days, I guess it's not so much relevant anymore. And just to show you some data before we move on, they have these interesting charts on the paper with a very high correlation coefficient, up to 99%, between the rank in a search system and various features. So one of these, for instance, is a number of affiliate links that perfectly correlates with the ranking, okay? So the very first page is going to contain the most number of affiliate links because those guys optimize for search the most, and as such, they wanted the biggest reward for it. But honestly, guys, what are we here for? We're here to avoid that, aren't we? So let's search for how Google Search works, in fact. There you go. Well, how does it work really? Well, on the high level, Google Search goes through the 3 stages in its entire process. There is a crawling stage where they scrape data from all of the web, like all of it, and it's a very hard engineering problem to even understand, which we're not going to due to its irrelevance to the point of our discussion, okay? What's relevant though is the rest couple of stages, which is indexing, where Google actually makes sense of that data by converting it to some sort of a form or representation with conceptual meaning of the data, and then serving stage, where they do the same for the user's query and matching the two together in the vector space or something. And these processes work the best for the pages that are optimized for search the most. And there's an entire branch in the industry usually associated with a bunch of guides and instructions and standards that contain a number of criteria that you have to comply with for the system to rank your content, your page, the highest for a relevant query. And of course, there's best practices or core practices, so to speak, that make the most impact on the ranking. You can read all of them right here, but what I want to point out to is this very first one. What they prioritize is this people first content. They have these guidelines that's going to help creators understand whether their content meets the criteria or not. It contains a series of questions that creators have to ask themselves about their content to get the idea. They also stress the importance of people-oriented content and vary against these machine-oriented content. Their algorithm are going to be checking against these things, though we know that it doesn't quite work as well in some situations. And one important thing to mention here is that to improve their system, they in fact use human feedback in the loop. They hire 10,000 folks around the globe who follow a very comprehensive guidelines, a document of such. They take the results from the ranking system selectively and they assess them, give them a score to tell how much accurate the system has been so far. Well, and if it hasn't been very accurate, it's going to have to adjust for it in the next iteration. They obviously have some spam filters that prevent auto-generated content, though not every auto-generated content is a bad content according to some their other policies. They also claim that they detect affiliate pages, and this is a little different from what we saw previously. These basically represent similar content replicated within a single website or even across multiple domains, leaving users frustrated about the experience if they see repetitive results on a search page. But they also say that not every affiliate program is a bad program, okay? As long as it offers additional value, as I say here, it's going to pass this check. Google does a lot of work for understanding your intent in the query and within the given context. It gives you the most relevant results that address these 5 main criteria. Even if you admit some grammar mistakes or mix up the word order in the query, they will still be able to derive your intent in there. The way they treat relevance is that they are looking for the keyword you're searching for or a similar word with the same semantic meaning in the headings or the body of the text. And they're also paying attention to other form of information such as pictures, or videos that match that concept. In their opinion, high-quality content is the one that gets referred by other prominent websites with good reviews and feedback, and that's why those affiliate schemes work so well based on trust inheritance. And the usability thing is a bit more like a technical requirement that asks for certain accessibility features present on the website, which you can get using an appropriate technology. Now let's look at the subsystems Google is using that produce signals that make a direct effect on the ranking position of a particular page. BERT is their old system that infers that semantic meaning from words and sentences that is based on transformist architecture in the machine learning industry, and that came along approximately at the same time when that research paper Attention is All You Need was released in 2018. MUM is the next generation of a same system, and as they say, it's 1,000 times more powerful than BERT, and it's capable of understanding and generating language. It understands information across 75 different languages, and it's multimodal, so capable of inferring information from images and videos, and as such has a better grasp of world knowledge. They also claim that it's not currently involved in the ranking process, so my gut feeling that they're seriously looking into it. And neural matching is that thing powered by a complex neural network that extracts broader representations of concepts in the query and on the page to increase the likelihood of matching them together. Google also operates with this notion of helpful content system, and that is a system that aims to identify helpful content for people. So it rewards content where visitors have a positive experience after visiting a page, and they do that by tracking some sort of metrics on the matter, I guess. They also do the opposite. They try to identify content of a low quality that add little to no value, so they deprioritize that in the search results, provided it is found somewhere else in the first place. So they have this classifier that runs continuously non-stop that detects unhelpful content across existing websites as well as newly launched ones. And they also improve it over time by introducing regular updates into the system, which you can track on this web page. But what about AI generated content, you might ask? How is that treated in their ranking system? Well, they have a dedicated blog post article on the matter, with the whole point being that it doesn't matter how the content is produced, whether generated by AI or written by a human. It's not what defines the quality of the content by their standards. Perhaps to your surprise, they in fact encourage people to make use of technology such as AI and automation. It has always been in line with their vision how they empower people with new technologies. And to begin with, what do we have in essence is three things. What Google cares about is who created the content, how it was produced, and why it is out there. To answer the question who, you should be able to see the author on the page and find some references to him and to his content in other sources, including social media. The question how raises the point regarding AI generation, and they require that to be disclosed somewhere on the page and obvious for the visitors, with them understanding how much AI has been involved in the process. And finally, why the content was produced in the first place is perhaps the most important question to ask. There needs to be a solid reason for them to send people to the page, especially in a highly competitive environment. So now when we've looked through all of the bits and pieces of what Google Search is composed of, we're finally ready to address this initial question of how is it really to search something intelligently. Having equipped with this knowledge already puts us in a better position of how we perceive results in a search page, whether they're manipulated or genuine. We definitely want to rely on the sources that we trust already, and if we want to build trust in something, we're gonna go ahead and check out those sources, looking for cross-references and positive reviews. More often than not, we don't even need to leave this front page of Google, because it already has all the answers we're looking for. Just pay attention to highlights, try different filters, clarify your query, and remember, Google still remains this keyword-oriented system. And this new genai-search capability offers you a completely different experience in how you approach search in the first place. You definitely want to try that one out if you still haven't done so. For that, just go ahead and enable it in your Google Search Lab settings of your personal account. It may take some extra effort in expressing yourself in natural language as opposed to keywords, and it'll definitely take some more effort to evaluate the results in original sources. Don't be afraid to try different things, try different search engines. There is already a number of GenAI services showing up on the horizon. And just to name a few, Perplexity AI has already been very useful to more than 10 million users. They're showing very competitive results and are quite on par with Google. So this concludes my little lesson, and I hope it's been somewhat useful for you guys and you've picked up a couple of things from this experience. I'm always open for interaction and look forward to engaging with you guys. As we've just learned, it's very important for big tech giants and that they are paying a very close attention to it. You can engage with me on one of these platforms, the links of which you can see on the screen. And I promise to be present because committing to using them leaves no other choice. Having said that, guys, I wish you all good luck, and I'll see you very soon with even more exciting content.